Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to be answering a question from Michelle in the community. This question was about staying organized. She said, do you follow a checklist or have a daily, weekly, monthly routine that helps you keep everything on track? So I went ahead and created a breakdown checklist of what we do and what has worked for us daily, monthly, weekly in our bookkeeping business, just to keep things organized, keep client tasks running smoothly. And if you click on the attachment in this video, you'll see this checklist here. So I'm just going to do a quick walkthrough through it, add a little bit of extra information that I didn't want to bombard you with in the checklist. And hopefully this will help you keep your tasks organized in your business. The first thing at the top here, I just wanted to make it clear that the usual things that you're doing for your clients, those specific services, payroll runs or filing sales tax that everyone's kind of agreed to on your, as part of the engagement letter or the quote that you prepared, those aren't going to be included in here because ideally once you get a signed engagement letter or are quoting them for the services they need, you'd be putting all of those specific tasks with their frequency, any deadlines, into some sort of task management software. We use Asana in our business. We integrates with things. It's not that expensive. It seems to really work well with all the stuff, but there's a ton of different ones out there that all have the same capabilities. And then there's some that are actually bookkeeping, accounting specific as well. But we really like Asana. That's the one we've been using for a long time and set up. And the first thing, when onboarding a client, if you've seen our onboard checklist, is getting all of that into one spot. We tag by the client. It's just so easy to click on that tag and see every single thing that we're promising to do for this client. So you don't miss anything. Those aren't in here. But this is more our internal tasks, our internal things, and how often we do them that keeps everything else organized. The first thing is this daily tasks. And for us daily, normally what we would do is we would take any receipts or bills that we've received from the client and we would add them into the accounting software. We would also go into the bank feed section of our accounting software, QuickBooks Online for us, and just make sure the bank feed is still coming in, still connecting to their banks, as well as matching any of those bills and expenses to them to clear out the bank. Okay, I have a match for this, I have a match for this, I know what this is, and just keep the bank super up to date. And then on a daily basis, I would also be checking my emails, any client portals to respond if the client needed support, had a question, depending if it's urgent, might do it that day. If not, might just schedule it in for when I do it for them. I just add at the bottom, ideally, a lot of this daily work happens automatically. For us, it depends your workflow and how you're organizing things for your clients. For example, if your clients bring you a shoebox of receipts at the end of the month, you're probably not going to be adding these bills and receipts in daily. That would make no sense. But for us, we have it where they have their app, they take a picture on their phone, and we're trying to get them into the habit of every single day taking a picture of their receipt, that when they go for lunch with their lawyer, they take a picture of the receipt right there, upload it, and then when it hits the bank, we already have the receipt, and it just keeps matching really quickly. That's the ideal situation. We use HubDoc, push it directly through to our accounting software, and then those just get auto-matched. A lot of this daily work is really not much of anything. It's not actually me going in and doing data entry. It's really just the software and the tools we've set up doing, I'd say 95% of it. And then daily, I would probably just go in and push stuff through, maybe hit match, just make sure things are working properly. That's what I'm doing on a daily basis for most of our clients, or someone is doing on a daily basis. For those weekly tasks, on a weekly basis, we go and see what is missing. Going and looking at those transactions that are hitting the banks, hitting the credit cards, coming in to that bank feed, and identifying which ones we don't have support, a receipt, a bill, a deposit slip for. Another thing I do weekly is I look at that Asana or that management system and essentially just make sure, okay, what's coming up? Do they have payroll run this week? Are they going to need their sales tax filed? Is there some other thing coming up this week that I have to do for them? Is it a payables run? Do I have to do some invoicing? Planning that ahead for my week just to make sure I'm not going to miss anything, or also just making sure I'm not going to get to the day of and be like, oh, I never actually tried the login password you gave me and now it doesn't work and I have to it's just, well, I think it's actually just embarrassing, but also you're just, oh, why didn't I just check this a little bit earlier? So to make sure I had all the stuff I needed. And then the last one I added here was just a quick cash review. This one's optional. Obviously depends on what you do for your client and what their cash situation is. But we've worked with a couple small businesses where I just to preemptively do this and be like, hey, payrolls this week. Normally payrolls 20 grand. Your bank's at 23 grand. Just a little bit. What could we maybe not pay this week? Just helping them ensure that the things that need to get paid are getting paid and that there's enough cash for whatever's coming up that week. Okay, and then a little note here, I just commented on the fact that we've had clients who are like, if every Friday you send me a list of anything I'm missing, I'll get it to you by Monday. They love having that routine that every week I just get a little list of the few things I'm missing, I send it over, and we're doing great. We've had a few others that's overwhelming for them, and they get a little like, oh my gosh, it's too much, and they'd almost prefer just either every couple of weeks or even once a month that they're just getting a list of missing things. The monthly thing can be difficult if they're not sending you stuff regularly. So if they're pretty good at sending 90% of the stuff that share monthly, you can just send them, hey, I'm missing these 5 things. If they're not, you can get to the end of the month and you're trying to do your month end and you're missing almost everything. And then you either have to just push it through without support or guess or just wait. And then your month end takes forever. So it's kind of using your discretion there, but ideally, when they buy something, they take a picture of it and send it to you. That's what we want. Not everyone does that. On a monthly basis, for every client, we do that. Those same 3 steps that if you've looked at the month-end close checklist that's in the Content Hub, you would have seen. But it's basically an initial month-end review check. So kind of more of a for the full month, looking at the books, reviewing what's happening, comparing it to the prior month, identify if we need more support or have questions, asking those questions, sending our suspense list to the client, and then once we get their responses or support, we're going to finalize that month end and close the books, do those reconciliations, all that stuff. I really this one, and a lot of people do not do it. So compliance and government checks. There's been so many times, we're in Canada, so we have the CRA, but there's been so many times where I've logged into like a new client CRA and there's tons of missing or like unread emails, mail, correspondence directly from the CRA. It's, hey, you're missing this. Hey, you have a late payment. Hey, just all this stuff and information that they just haven't seen. Maybe it's got in their mailbox somewhere. Maybe they moved. Just, it saved me so many times. Just like, oh, did you know that you missed this? And a lot of them aren't checking it. And when you do check it, you look like a hero. So that one's really great for just seeing if there's like anything you should maybe tell your client. Also, I find a lot of clients almost get a little bit, I don't want to say scared of it, but like sometimes they'll get a letter from the CRA and I swear they just won't open it. So I almost just go in and be like, hey, everything's good. Just, you're fine. And then sending those monthly reports. We really need to do actually like a video like this. I think I've said this before, but about those financial statements. And the reason I really get is because I'm able to firstly ramble on about what I'm seeing, what's happening. It's usually not that intense, but just, hey, here's your P&L. Doing a lot, but you'd be surprised how many people, get their financial statements, get their P&L, get their balance sheet, and they just go, okay, thanks. They don't really know what they're supposed to be looking for. Most people tend to just scroll right down to that bottom number, and if it's a positive profit, they're cool. If it's a negative, okay. This is what I see. Yes, this number looks good, but also look here, or this number looks bad, but also look here. Like just showing them what I'm looking at. And I just added here, this is very, very simplified. That's because we did a whole deep dive, step-by-step breakdown of the month end close process in that other checklist. So if you're at a month end, check that one out. Okay. And then quarterly tasks here. Quarterly, we tend to do a same thing, just financial review. This is where I really do a budget versus actuals type thing. The process we use is, work with them to let's think of your budget for the year, if we can, project it out. And then as we go through the year, look at, are we meeting this? Do we need to change it? And the tool that we have, the budget versus actuals template, I think is really helpful because it takes the fact that there's a stagnant budget that you made up at the start of the year. You didn't make it up, but you're guessing, right? It's a educated guess, but you are guessing. And then it's taking into account what actually happens throughout the year. And then it's meshing all these two together to show you your projections. They're getting refreshed every single month or we tend to do this quarterly. found monthly is a little bit overwhelming for people sometimes, depending on what you do for them. If it's a bigger business and the owners or the management team is really looking for it. Some smaller businesses, I find that monthly can be a little overwhelming for them. So we tend to do quarterly. These are the types of things that so in this section, I will add in my variances, and that's part of the template. And variances are just essentially saying, why isn't what we thought? And it's not necessarily bad or good. It's more just, hey, this happened, this unexpected expense, or we got another sale, or we made a new contract. It's just so that when you look at it like super high level, it's so obvious where those numbers are coming from. Just to give yourself like a little cheat sheet in your meetings, because sometimes it's hard to remember exactly, especially when you have a ton of clients. Okay, so client check meetings, yeah. So we do this quarterly. I think it's a really, really great place to firstly be like, are you having any issues? How are things going? Is this flow working? Like reconnecting with your client. And another thing that this is really, really good for is identifying if they need additional support or services. This is where you're trying to almost, I don't want to say you're trying to sell them more stuff, but you are trying to identify, has your business grown? Do you need more support? Do you need less? Is there a place here where we could add a service that would benefit you and your business and that you potentially need and want? So that's what I also keep my ears open for in those meetings is, oh, you're mentioning that you want this super custom report. Yeah, we could do that for you. Look, that kind of thing. And then also potentially maybe a tax check-in, depending what you do for your client, obviously, and the scope of what you're doing. But normally what we would do is just be like, okay, is profit in line with what we thought? Are we making the correct either installments, or are we just aware of the potential tax we're going to have to pay at the end of the year? I find when people are kind of aware that they have to pay tax and what that number might be, then at the end, when they actually have to pay it, it stings a little bit less. Trying to help them a little bit just to be like, don't forget, this isn't all your money. You have to give some of it to the government. Here, I just noted there's that budget versus actuals tool that you can use. And lastly is the annual tasks. Update my heading. As part of the annual tasks, I think it's really important to coordinate with your client's accountant. So just reaching out to confirm like when they need the information from you, exactly what documents and information they're looking for. Some of them will send you a specific list, some of them won't. Just depends. Making sure that those prior year adjustments are in there. So anything from the tax accountant or from the accountant from the prior year, they usually send adjusting journal entries. And those are just super important to make sure are posted, because essentially what you're trying to do is you're giving the accountant your information at the end of the year. They're doing what they do and to make sure that everyone's on the same page, they will send you their adjusting journal entries. Then you're going to post those adjusting journal entries so that your information and the accountant's information perfectly matches. A lot of people forget to do that. So then when the accountant gets the next year's information, the opening retained earnings, so meaning the prior year's numbers, are not the same. And then they have to do all this work to be what isn't the same. Sometimes it's really obvious for them that, oh yeah, they clearly just didn't post the journal entries. But sometimes if something is messed up and the journal entries aren't posted, then they have to do a bunch more work. Probably will bill the client for it. If you make opening retained earnings match what they sent you last year, they'll love you and you'll make their job so much easier. That's one thing that you definitely want to check and definitely want to make sure is right. And if it's not right, then a lot of working papers and information is going to be slightly off because your starting point is essentially wrong. Okay, so year-end reconciliation and adjustments. So yeah, those same things, kind of the same steps as the month end. It's kind of just a more intensive month end, making sure you have support for anything that's on those financial statements, preparing the year-end package for the account. So assembling all that information, pulling financial statements for them, or these days, a lot of times we'll just give them a login to the QuickBooks account, supporting documentation and working papers, and then a client year-end summary. This is optional. Definitely don't have to do this, but I do find that maybe instead of my quarterly, it's almost instead of quarterly meeting, you're having a fiscal year-end meeting, just to be like, this is what happened, your year-end review. Maybe if you've had this client for a bit, or if they've had years of business, you're also showing them a comparison this year versus last year, or what actually happened versus your initial budget. This is a great place to help them think about the year, now the year coming, and helping them create a budget for the next year going forward. using the insights from the prior year. Those are the routine bookkeeping tasks that we use. I would love to hear from any of you guys if there's any you think I've missed, or if there's any that are important to you that you would add or take away. And hopefully this helps you with your client work. Bye.